guys, welcome back to my kitchen. So I have been working through my capsule. If you're curious about capsule cooking, I will post that video down below so that you guys can get up to speed with what it is that I am doing. But basically, it's just a really simple way to meal plan. I have chosen 20 different ingredients to use through this month, and those are all the main ingredients that I'm using. I am learning how to highlight different flavors in that ingredient list and just trying to make some really fun, creative meals just with what I have. But it's also showing me things that I need to make sure and have stocked up in my pantry at all times, just so that I can make some of these basic meals. So I'm gonna show you guys what we have been having this week, and then I will get started on what we are doing for dinner tonight. Tonight for dinner, we are going to be having a super basic version of chicken parmesan, and that means that I am going to make a homemade marinara sauce. So this is one of those recipes that if you just have some of these basic pantry staples lying around, you can make it anytime, but you can also just make it to you and your family's taste. I'll show you how I make it, and then it'll be really easy for you to make variations to that recipe if how I make it maybe isn't the way that your family would love to enjoy it. So we're gonna get started on that now. So the first thing that I need to do is get my onion chopped. So if you guys are thinking, wow, a lot of your recipes start with sauteing onions and garlic. It is true, they do. And that is because that's a really yummy flavor combination. So I like to use it. It just works really well to make a ton of different sauce recipes. So I'm gonna stick with that. So I'm heating up some olive oil in my pan. I'm just gonna add in my onions, and then I am going to saute them until they are translucent. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of salt to this to start to pull some of that moisture out and get those sauteed just that much quicker. But then also you just wanna add layers of flavor anytime that you can. So I'm gonna get this sauteed, get these onions translucent, and then I'm gonna add some garlic to that. One of the things that I really love about this recipe is that you kind of have some leeway on how you make it. So I happen to have an onion. It was a really small onion, but I had an onion. And so because I did, I could use that in there. And then what you add to it can kind of just be up to what you have in your pantry. So I have a can of crushed tomatoes from Aldi. I'm gonna use this. I have 2 cans of homemade tomato sauce that I made and canned last summer that I want to use as well. And so I'm gonna use this. If you have fresh herbs, absolutely you can use those. If you just have dried herbs like I do, then go ahead and use those too. Really, there's a lot of freedom in how you can make this recipe. And I'm not forced to run to the store if I realize that I'm out of marinara sauce for something, because I already have all of the ingredients to make it from scratch. All right, my onions are nice and translucent, so I am going to go ahead and add some garlic to that. Now we like our sauce super garlicky, so I'm gonna add a lot. If you don't, then you can just add a little bit. I wouldn't suggest skipping it though, because it definitely adds a layer to a marinara sauce that you need. And then I'm going to add in my tomatoes now. So I'm gonna get that kind of stirred up a little bit, and then I am going to start adding some extra spices to it. So if you have fresh herbs, by all means use them. I do have some fresh rosemary and basil, which I might add a little bit of fresh basil just right at the end. I am adding salt to that. But I'm just gonna use tried and true Italian seasoning. So I'm gonna add, probably 2 to 3 teaspoons of Italian seasoning to it. And then I am going to stir that in. I am going to cover it, and I'm gonna let it sit and cook for a while. I'm gonna bring it up to a a simmer. You don't want this like hard boiling because you could definitely burn the tomato on the bottom. But I need, before I can taste it, before I know if it needs anything else, I need it to cook those tomatoes down really well and sort of incorporate the flavors of the garlic and the onion and the Italian seasoning, and then I'll check it and see if I need to add a little sugar if it's too acidic, or if I need to add a little bit more salt, that sort of thing to it. And so right now I am going to turn my heat down fairly low because again, I don't want it to burn on the bottom. You definitely don't want to do that. And I'm going to cover it, and then I'm going to come back to it every 10-15 minutes or so for right now and give it a stir, and it is going to become this deep dark red color, and you're going to start to really smell the flavors of all of the things that you've added, and it is going to be such a good marinara sauce for our dinner tonight. So I simmered my sauce for about an hour, hour and a half, just stirring every so often just to make sure that the sauce doesn't burn on the bottom. And I just kind of kept tasting it, added salt if I felt like I needed salt. I did end up adding from 2 to 3 teaspoons of sugar just to kind of cut the bitterness and the acidity of the tomatoes. And now my sauce is ready to go for dinner, and I am going to get started on the next part, which is the chicken. So I am going to bread my chicken, but I do not have breadcrumbs, so I am going to kind of make my own. And in order to do that, I am going to just whir up some, I have crackers in my pantry. So I am going to add my crackers to my blender, and then I am going to whir these up until I get a fine powder, and I'm going to finish setting up my breading station, and then I will show you guys what to do next. A lot of sun in my face right now. We're gonna give this a shot. So I turned my oil on about medium, and in addition to olive oil, I went ahead and put some butter in there. So I want olive oil for the high smoke point, but I want butter for the flavor. So I have my chicken cutlets all pounded out and breaded and ready to be cooked, and my water is boiling. So I am going to get my pasta in for that, and then as soon as this butter is melted, I'm gonna start cooking my chicken. All right, we got our oil all hot and butter all melted, so we are going to start putting our chicken in. I'm actually only going to cook 2 at a time because I don't want to crowd my pan, but because I pounded these out, they shouldn't take super long to cook. That's our first week in our capsule cooking all finished, and I have to say I'm really excited about eating this. I did taste the breading, and it is just the perfect amount of saltiness with those crackers. Super glad that I didn't add anything else to it because that is so delicious. That Parmesan and cracker crust ended up great. This is just one really good example of things that you can make almost entirely cooking out of just pantry ingredients, and I have to say this one looks pretty tasty, so I'm excited to eat it. Anyway, that is it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.